Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host.
Wow, has the cost of N got you trying to figure out what to do? That makes you a lot like a whole bunch of other people. Rod here at A Better Way to Farm, where we increase yields and improve profits. And for today, guys, I really just want you to think. Oftentimes when we get all reactionary, we get ourselves in trouble. And I'm looking at these articles. I got my desk covered in stuff that I've printed off, some from AgWeb, some from the Wall Street Journal. I'm looking at other articles here online and seeing all these different things that people are saying. First and foremost, they're saying is the fact that nitrogen has went up like a rocket ship. Is that going to impact acres? Probably. And guys, I'm not here telling you what to do. I'm not. But I want you to really think this through. I also just looked at the markets right now. The most close contract to us on soybeans is down for 70 cents, and November beans are down 40 cents a bushel. If we see a big shift in the planting intentions and we move about X million acres of corn into beans, I'm going to guess that the bean market is going to take a thrashing there. They're going to beat it like a horse. I want you to think through what that's going to be. Think about forward contracting. I'm not your guy. I encourage you to get a hold of Roger Wright at Right on the Market. But I just want to think these things through. There's a couple, three things that are very concerning to me. When things get like this, we have all these people coming out. One of the articles that came out of the Wall Street Journal was titled, Rising Fertilizer Prices Give Farming Microbes Another Chance. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff like this, and I'm seeing all kinds of people say things like, well, you know, we're going to do this and do this. And somebody said, I heard a guy who said that 2 gallons of this will replace 60 pounds of nitrogen. Guys, you've heard me talk about this a lot of times. Be very cautious. We're seeing people telling you that you can make your own nitrogen. I would encourage you, go to the marketplace and talk to other people who have done that. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that decisions that we make this year are going to have lifelong effects on our future. Do I think there's a place for microbes in farming? Yes, I do. Do I think that just throwing random bacteria in the soil is going to make the angels sing and manna fall from heaven? No, I do not. And the fact that they're saying rising fertilizer prices give farming microbes another chance tells me that we're trying to do something here out of desperation. And I don't like to do anything out of desperation. And oftentimes, when I'm betting on that ultra long, it's okay to take some parlay bet for the NCAA tournament and you risk $5 and you can get a $7,000 return if the planets all line up. That's one thing. But to take some kind of a long-term big bet like that with our farming operation and bet all of our resources, all of our money on this idea when it's never been proven, that is not a good idea. And I want to make sure, guys, that we're not doing the wrong thing. I'm seeing articles here, printed one out, talking about if nitrogen inhibitors are worth the cost. And it's a good article with a lot of different things in it to think about. And it talked about the fact that we basically have two forms. We have the urease inhibitors and the nitrification inhibitors. And, you know, the nitrification inhibitors would include nitropyrin and DCD. We know those both work. I'm not a big fan of nitropyrin because I think it's really hard on those soil bugs. I think it's very hard on soil life, but that's up to you to decide. But I am a big fan of DCD, of the dicyandiamide product. They went on to talk about some of the things we might be using on the other side of things, which is a urease inhibitor, worried about volatilization. And the thing, and I would tell you, guys, I don't think this is the year to blow urea over the top and leave it. Just my own personal opinion, okay? But from my standpoint, I am not anxious to go out here and dump a bunch of urea on the top of the ground and not incorporate it. You can basically do away with the need for a urease inhibitor if you'll just incorporate the urea. And my suggestion is that if you're using no-till, that urea may not be your best choice. Or if it is, it needs to be banned and somehow get it down into the ground. I love urea, but I love it most when it's incorporated in some capacity. And I want to make sure that as we're going out here trying to figure out what we're going to do, that we're doing the right things that's going to ensure the most profitability possible I want to talk about maximizing efficiency just like what these guys are talking about in here. They talk about the fact that if you put urea over the top and early rains come, that you can lose 20% of your total nitrogen in just 1 to 2 rain events. That's a lot. We don't want to be doing that. And so when we incorporate that, we don't have to worry about it. One of the PhDs that was writing on this just said it's a simple scenario. You don't need to use a urease inhibitor when you make a broadcast application and immediately incorporate the tillage at least 2 inches into the soil. And that takes care of that problem for you. Guys, I want to talk specifically about rates because I see so many people still using way too much nitrogen. But there was a lady about a year and a half ago now, maybe a year and 3 months ago, and she talked about the fact that they were anhydrous users in Minnesota, that they had went out and they had anhydrous at an angle and they had planted straight east and west, I think, in the rows. And everywhere that the row of corn intersected the application band for the anhydrous, the corn was darker green, it was taller, and it was 1 to 2 leaves ahead all season long. And so she was all jazzed up and rightfully so excited. And she said, I want to take this through to yield. And when she took it through to yield, she harvested the 4 plants closest to the intersection and the 4 plants closest away, I believe. And when she did that, there was a 20 bushel yield difference between the intersection point and the point farthest away. However, the deal was it was in favor of farthest away. Guys, there are so many studies that show, and so many just people just trying it, not trying to prove anything. We believe that there's a lot of yield loss by the overuse of nitrogen. Just like there, where she proved this, that farther away from the injection site was better. And you could say, well, it was soil bacteria, it was this, it was that. But remember, the plant was darker green, it was taller, it was more mature. It just yielded less. When we front load our nitrogen and we put it all out there, and then if we happen to double down and we don't use a good high phosphorus orthophosphate starter, we've really set ourselves up for a lot of issues, because what nitrogen does is it makes vegetative growth. So we front load all of our N, we shove that nitrogen into that plant, and early on that plant takes off and grows like fury, right? At the expense of not having enough root growth. Phosphorus makes root growth. The micronutrients that are necessary make root growth. And I have always been told by the guys I respect that when we have 2 foot of corn above the ground, we should have 2 foot of roots below the ground. And if we don't do that, we're doing it wrong. The case is really here, guys, in some capacity to figure out how to multiple shot your nitrogen. If we do multiple shots, we know we're more efficient. We know we can get by with less. And you say, well, I don't want to make the extra trip. I get that. These are all decisions that you have to make. I can't make them for you. But I'm going to encourage you to give some consideration this year to doing something different. This graph that I'm looking at was showing, and it's about 3 days old, but the Gulf Coast urea price was about $620 a ton. And a mere 3 weeks ago, it was about $440. And so we're up almost 50%. In the meantime, we saw corn take a dive today. We saw beans completely fall out of bed. And while that's probably due to some governmental type things and obviously a big overreaction in the marketplace, I don't think it's out of line to think that if we raise bean acres a bunch that we're going to cut the price, that we may have seen the market high. Who knows? I'm not your marketer. I know that. But I want to encourage you to try to take all of this into consideration. If you're in a situation, we live in southern Iowa, a lot of point rows, a lot of terraces, a lot of hills. And so maybe side dress isn't the deal. Maybe we can't get in there and make that trip, so we do have to front load our nitrogen. So let's talk about the rates and how we're going to do that. On our own farm, we don't front load it, but if I was going to, I would put down about 0.7 for my intended goal. So I'm going to gun for 240 bushels. So I'm going to put down, 160-ish pounds up front. And I'm going to stabilize that with a good dose of DCD, with dicydiamide. We always say that the dicydiamide is somewhat like a chemical side dress, because what it does is it keeps that part of the nitrogen that is in the ammonium form longer. Part of that nitrogen is already in the nitrate form. And a plant needs a 50-50 mix of nitrate and ammonium. And so it's important that we have both of those. By hanging on to the ammonium longer, we get a yield increase just by having it in the right form. And When we lose nitrogen into the groundwater, that's when it's going off in the nitrate form. So if we can come in here and protect that nitrogen longer and keep it from running away, that is a good thing. So if you're going to front load and you're going to use some kind of a liquid, I might encourage you to take a look at using a stabilizer like a DCD. If you're going to front load your nitrogen, I would beg of you, don't put it over the top. If you're going to multi-shot it, we get some guys, they do 10 or 15 gallon with a weed and feed with their pre-emerged chemicals. I love that. They know they're coming back. They're going to pay some carbon penalty. They're going to feed the bugs. They're going to have some plant available nitrogen out there. And then they're coming back with a Coulter rig, or they're coming back with a Y-drop rig. They might be coming back with urea. You know what? Urea is my least favorite form to top dress with. I've got pictures in my phone I would be glad to show you of what happens when you get a 1/10 of an inch of rain. Just enough to activate it, not enough to wash it off. And the burn is amazing that you can get. And does it grow out of it? Yes. Does it cost you a lot of yield? Yes, it does. But know this, in the event that you get pinched on time, you can fly on urea. You have a choice, because some people go, I don't want to plan on side dressing. The weather gets too crazy and I'm scared of it. You always have options. You can take a spinner rig and cover an enormous number of acres in a short period of time. You can take an airplane and fly urea on. And the bottom line is, guys, with the Coulter rig or with the Y-drops, you can still cover a lot of acres at a time. I firmly believe that if there was ever a time that the ship finally sailed, using 1.2 pounds of nitrogen or even 1 pound of nitrogen to get a bushel of corn, that boat left the harbor. And I know people are going to come on and they're going to talk about, well, it depends on your organic matter, it depends on your CEC, and it depends on a lot of things. Yes, I do not want to try and apply more than 10 pounds per CEC point. I had someone who came on here a while back, and they had one single study that showed blah, 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 that you didn't have to obey that, and you can do whatever. Here's what I know. Over the last 33 years, doing all kinds of infield studies and studying nitrogen rates and what we can do to be efficient and where the best yields come from, I know that the best yields are not coming from the overuse of nitrogen. And I know that the profitability is not coming from the overuse of nitrogen. And I definitely know with the price of N, what it is this year, that we need to be looking how to be judicious. Am I going to fall off the wall here and say, absolutely just don't use any or try to go to 0.3? No, because that's the kind of thinking that can get you in a world of hurt. And I don't want to do that. Do we have some guys that are growing 280 bushel corn on 0.3 pounds? Yes. Do they have high organic matter? Yes. Do they have great soil health? Yes, they do. Have they spent years getting to this point? Yes, they have. So I can't go over here to my field that's across the road that's a white oak timber soil with an organic matter of about 2.4 and a CEC of 10. I'm not going to get away with 0.3 on a nitrogen conversion. That's not going to work for me. Can I do a 0.6 or 0.7? Yeah. How do I know? Because we've been doing it. And why in the world would I want to put on twice as much nitrogen as what I need? If I get a banger of a year and it comes in really late, I'll go in there and foliar feed at R2. I'll go in there and Y-drop another shot. If I see that I've got a lot of potential and the markets have leveled out, who knows? Maybe we get to $4.90 corn. I hope so. And so then I can do some things. But as far as front loading a bunch, no. And guys, I'm very passionate about this. I know I'm a little wound up, but here's what I know. We are in the business of making people stay in business. And if we're going to stay in business, we've got to be thinking about what we're going to do. Please take what I've said today and consider it, think about it, sleep on it. Don't overreact. I want to encourage you that. Don't overreact to go to pure soybeans either. Just think about the things that you can do to make this work. If you'd like some more information, reach out. We'd love to talk to you. You can text Karen at 641-919-5570. We really do hope you're having a wonderful day. And guys, just stay focused. Don't overreact. Don't freak out. We're going to make it through this. You can do it. I know you can, but we may have to do some things different. Thank you for tuning in. We'll look forward to talking to you soon. And as always, we hope you're having a better day.